in that unknown and in that uncertainty, there is potential for the most beautiful of outcomes. There seems to be so much distaste toward uncertainty in this day and age, and I can understand why. And I experience a lot of frustration with uncertainty as well. And at the same time, uncertainty shouldn't be demonized as much as it is, I believe, because it's only in the space of uncertainty or in the unknown that something can happen for us. Like usually when things are uncertain, we get scared and we want to know exactly what's going to happen. We want to be certain about everything. Like we want to know what's going to happen on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and we want to know what's going to happen at 5 o'clock, and so on and so forth. And when we don't know exactly what's going to happen, this sort of anxiety and panic sets in. And that's quite normal. And at the same time, uncertainty provides a lot of excitement. If you don't know what's happening at Tuesday at 3 o'clock, that means anything could happen. Your wildest dreams could come true. We ought to keep that in mind when we don't know what's going to happen and we're trying to fill up our calendar and plan everything. It's good to leave space, because in leaving the space, it means you've created and left that open for something else to come in that perhaps your mind hasn't anticipated at this point in time, because we don't really know what we want next week from this week. I mean, it's constantly changing. And to give an example, in my recent excursions, I went on a cycling trip, and I had a plan to just kind of go for one night and then camp somewhere and then come back. But at the same time, I was open to being flexible with that. And sure enough, when I went on the bike trip, I ended up bumping into two other people that were cycling their bikes, and then we were kind of headed the same direction. So we ended up going together, and then we camped the first night together. It wasn't where I had planned to camp, but it worked out quite well because I was tired and I couldn't go any further anyway. And so we hung out and it was nice. And then the next day we decided we'd go on together further. And at this point, if I had stuck to my original plan, I would have just gone home. But instead I continued and explored a little bit more, and it was a beautiful experience for me to cycle that much, because I've never cycled that much before, and I got to see different parts of the country that I'd never seen before and experience being a cyclist. So that's what opportunity lay in the unknown for me on that occasion. And I mean, there's so many other occasions where the unknown has had a beautiful surprise for me that I could never have anticipated. And so I'm grateful that that uncertainty, that unknown, was ahead of me, because into that space of unknown came a beautiful gift. So we needn't be so fearful of the uncertainty and the unknown, and we needn't have a plan for everything. It's good to have a loose sort of framework. You know, my framework for the cycling trip was to get on the bike, go in that direction, have equipment to camp, and the means to come home. So in that sense, I was comfortable. I had a framework. I knew I wasn't going to be, left high and dry. But at the same time, I was open to other possibilities. And so it's not to say that we just throw all planning out the window, but maybe don't try and have everything planned so precisely and so perfectly, because while your intention, of course, is good, we don't know what we don't know. And you don't know yet what's going to happen next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. So, yeah, keep in mind what you might want to do, but also keep in mind that there could be another opportunity that arises at that time. And if at that point in time the opportunity presents itself and you're like, no, I said I was going to go have coffee with Jim, so I have to go have coffee with Jim, even though I've just gotten this offer for a job interview that could potentially change the rest of my life, I still have to go for coffee with Jim. Sorry about that job interview, or whatever it is. You see, if we're too rigid in our planning and our strategy, then we're shutting down a lot of potential that the universe might be offering us. So yes, of course, make your plans here and there and have that be your general guideline, your general direction, but at the same time be open to the uncertainty that may lie within those plans. And if you don't know what's coming next, if there is a big chunk of uncertainty in front of you, that's okay. You don't need to know exactly what's going to happen. You don't need to know who your next relationship is going to be with. You don't need to know what the weather's going to be. You don't need to know where exactly your next paycheck is going to come from. But do know that in that unknown and in that uncertainty, there is potential for the most beautiful of outcomes, and nothing is set in stone. And if you really do hold the belief that all will be well, then it will be. The timing of it might not be what you expect. It might not be next week, might not be next month, might not be next year. There could be a lot of perceived obstacles and roadblocks and unfortunate circumstances on the path, but if you really hold it in your heart that all will be well, then all will be well. All is well. And the way that the mind expects things to be isn't always how it is, and it's not always how it's meant to be. Things happen that at the time might seem unfortunate, but going forward and in the future, once you've had time to reflect, it's almost always the case that you look back on those scenarios that at the time you really disliked, and you realize the gift in it because it's brought you to the place that you're at now. You've got a different state of awareness, a different state of being. There's lessons that you've learned along the way. And so, in trusting in the unknown, you're trusting in almost a greater plan, a divine plan, or paying attention to the fact that it's not just you against the world, it's you in the world. And the world is here for you as much as you are for the world. So take solace in the unknown, take solace in the uncertainty, because there's so much beauty to be had there, and you don't need to know what it looks like. So let it be unknown, let it be uncertain, and just embrace it as it comes.